So, what's going on, YouTube? Just wanted to do a hopefully under 10-minute video here on my work in progress, but close enough to completed office / 2-channel listening room. I had a lot of trepidation about using this room, which is only about just over 7 feet in width, sidewall to sidewall, and then depth is about 11 feet to the back wall and about 10-ish feet to the chimney. That is actually the functional chimney for the house. So it's an extremely small room, 7.5 foot, 8 foot ceilings, give or take, but obviously it's sloping on one side. It's the exterior of the house, the roof. I just wanted to go over what I have going on in here, a couple things I've learned, and how I feel about this project in general. So let's see, turn off the main light for the moment. So that's kind of the vibe. So what do we have? Everything in here was selected for the size of the room. So the speakers which anchor the entire system are the Philharmonic Ceramic Mini. These are a relatively new speaker for 2022, I think. And they are incredible for this room. They're incredible in general, but they're perfect for this room. They are 5-inch driver with a 1-inch tweeter, I believe. And their bass output is shockingly good, especially in this room. They're as much bass as needed. I honestly don't really have any grand desires for a sub. And if I was to put a sub in here, I would need to get a really good one because the quality of the bass in here is so high that mostly what I've experienced with my cheaper subs is it makes everything worse. So, let's see. That's the speakers. Very simple and cheap electronics. It's just a Weem Pro streamer, a Sony DVD player, which will get upgraded at some point. I don't listen to CDs very much, to be honest. It's a SMSL A300 integrated amplifier. For the money, for $200, it's absolutely amazing. And I'm testing between two DACs right now. It's the SMSL A500 MK2. Let me see, I forget. Yep, M500 Mark II. And then the one I'm probably going to stay with, I think I ultimately like it a bit better, is the Geshelli Labs J2 with the Sparkos op amp and upgraded power supplies. So my general power supply system, can't really see what's going on there, sorry, but it's decent power strip and some Wi-Fi stuff and a couple of bigger power cords. So slightly upgraded from normal. Doesn't matter. I don't know. It makes me feel better. The chair, IKEA chair, probably the highlights of this room and what makes things work as well as it does are the seating location in reference to the room. Other than the ceiling, the room is very symmetrical. It is a rectangle with those little pockets in the back on either side. As far as I can tell, there's nothing negative about that. Obviously, the sloping roof is a small factor, but I'm not sure how much it ultimately affects things. So my main listening position is the obvious spot, and my ears are approximately 59 or 60 inches from the tweeters. I am 1 to 2 inches below the tweeters, which seems to produce the nicest sound stage for me. The speaker faces are about 30 inches away from the wall, and my head's about 30 inches away from the wall as well in the back. So this space right here. And then that is probably the number one factor in making this room work. The fact that I could get my seat and the speakers exactly where they perform best. And most of what that performance entails is bass, minimizing, getting myself out of peaks and nulls. So even moving the chair back an inch or two and forward an inch or two really affects not only the bass, but the soundstage. So that's probably one of the biggest tips I have in regards to a small room is try to get your seating position optimized. Now, obviously, if you can't do that, then you can disregard all of that. But if you have a small room and you're trying to figure out whether or not it's worth making into a listening room, I can tell you it's worked out great for me, but that was kind of the sort of number one most important thing. Number two, well, actually probably number three, because number two is gear selection. I've had bigger and theoretically better speakers in here, but they were too much for the room. I have some three-way Polks, they're like $1,500 Polks that I got used. They're way too much for the room, too much bass. They don't feel like they integrate very well between all the drivers. It just feels like, well, they just feel too big. So get the right size speakers. I had some Emotiva B1 Pluses in here, and they honestly sounded amazing as well. The ceramic minis are just a couple notches up in regards to overall performance, especially in mid-range, overall clarity, smoothness, refinement, and then the bass performance blows the Emotivas out of the water. So highly recommend these speakers. So the third thing, to get back on topic, would be the room treatments. So I started with the ceiling panels and the sort of sloping wall panels. These are just stick-on panels from Amazon. I think the whole ceiling probably cost me a couple $100 at most. They're thin, they don't shed. I mainly did it to save myself some drywall finishing, but also because I think it looks really cool. I wanted to do something in here that was very different from normally what I did, which is more colonial or contemporary. So I went with the panels. I'll probably do some kind of different lighting feature. I might even do some sound treatments on the ceiling and do like a cloud, like a floating cloud thing, which are typical in recording studios. But so that's the first part of room treatment. I don't think it did a whole lot, but it's probably less reflective than drywall. So it's a good start, and I think it looks great. So my panels are all GIK acoustics, except for the two bass traps, which I made. So it's a 4-inch panel behind the speakers, 4-inch panel, which catches first and second reflections. So I actually measured and caught first and second reflections. And the same with this panel, the same 4-inch GIK panel. And then on the back wall, it's actually a 7.3-inch bass trap, quote unquote. You can see it's much thicker. So there's the thicker panel, and these are the thinner panels. You can see it's probably about twice as thick. I try to catch reflections off of the brick behind me. I'm not sure how massively important that is, but it's nice to have an extra bass trap in here as well. And then my corner bass traps are homemade, believe it or not. And they are just the Safe and Sound insulation material. Made a simple frame, overstuffed them, and then wrapped them with just speaker grill cloth from Amazon or something. But yeah, so you can kind of see wood panel here, and then nothing, and then wood. So they're quite transparent. I gave them a little spacing away from the wall as well to maximize performance, but they're about 4 feet tall, 12 inches deep, 16 inches wide. So a good amount of bass trapping. And then for the future in the back, I'm probably going to jam a bunch of insulation for like the bottom 2 feet of both of these spaces to add even more bass trapping. But as good as the bass sounds in here, I'm not really sure I need to do that. So it sounds truly amazing. Probably the best bass I have in any system. It's not an overwhelming amount of bass, but the quality is incredibly high. So it's become my reference for bass quality. That's just temporary. That's a desk, which is also kind of temporary. But it's far enough back that I don't think I catch any reflections off of it. But I put the cork pad on the top for that too, try to soften all the surfaces. Just a cork board, and then I actually even hung a jacket for the same reason. I might do some more sound panels in here, but I don't really know if I need to. Everything sounds so good that I probably am just chasing my tail at this point. So the plan for the back is going to be do some bookshelves all the way up on both sides, so I'll get even more sound treatment through that. Clearly I haven't done that yet. It's kind of in process. And then in the front of the room, I'm probably going to do like 1 or 2 floating shelves as well for books, which will add even more diffraction and reflection, etc. So, but yeah, as the room stands, I have absolutely no complaints. In fact, quite the opposite. I think it's screaming success. Really, probably the most important thing I can say about doing a listening room, regardless of the size, would be the fact that it's quiet. I do have extra insulation in the wall, solid core door, it fits really tightly and all that. But the room probably sits at, per my phone app, about 29 decibels, which is just really quiet. That's probably the number one thing that allows for a huge amount of revealing, detail, retrieval, and all the other things that make a set of speakers sound truly special. Um, I can listen to classical in here and really enjoy it. In most scenarios, listening to classical is really tough for me because I can't hear the quieter passages unless the system is so loud that it's almost unlivable during the louder passages. But in here, quiet passages at 40 decibels are completely audible, perfect. And then when it swings up into the 60s, it's still completely reasonable. So, yeah, that's been great. The imaging and sound staging is amazing. The panels on the sides were hugely helpful for that. They tightened everything up and completely changed the game. This room images like out of control good. Yeah, so let's see. I don't think I have a whole lot more to say, but if you're going to do a really small room, make sure that you take your seating position and your speaker position really seriously. It's probably the most important part about all the setup. Oh, I have a rug too, so even more absorption. But yeah, as far as all the other absorption stuff, I think it helped a lot. I think the side panels were probably the most helpful, but I'm not going to take any of this stuff out and do a A/B testing. So it is what it is. I think it looks cool. It sounds amazing. Yeah, and I think the room itself looks cool and is really nice to be in as well. So I guess the last thing I'll do, you guys feel free to sign off now. There's not a whole lot more interesting coming, but I figure I'd just quickly show what I got going on for the lighting system. I did my, I'm a carpenter, so I did some, custom trim profiles for the door and for the baseboard. And you can see the door. I tried to pick interesting pieces of poplar. I really like poplar. It's currently raw. It's going to get sanded and clear coated with like an ultra flat, but it's basically going to look like this. So anyways, poplar trim, just little channel, and it's just a lighting strip. Again, just a Home Depot lighting strip. I don't know, maybe it was like 40 bucks. Goes all the way around, and it terminates over here in its own little power pack, which is right here. So really simple. And this will get terminated into the, what's it called? The, look at that, changing colors for me. This will get terminated into the bookcase too, so you won't see any of that. So, take care, guys.